If Pierre Poilievre wanted to be a responsible leader, I'll even give him the words. This is what he should say. But he won't say it.
Easy there, Justin. You're going to have an aneurysm. Welcome back to Northern Perspective, everyone. I'm Cypher.
And I'm Fox. Trudeau held another presser today, and this time it was at IBM in Bromont, Quebec. But instead of focusing on the issues at hand, he seemed completely distraught over thoughts of Pierre Poilievre.
Let's take a look.
Prime Minister Murad Hamadi at The Logic. So you've talked about the capital gains tax change in your new budget in terms of cottages and second homes, but doctors and the founders of a lot of Canadian technology companies say that some of both of those groups will leave the country because of these changes that you're making. And you and your government have said you want more of both in this country, both doctors and technology companies. Do you have a plan for stopping the loss of these people to the US?
That was a long pause. I wonder if he was thinking, am I ever going to get away from this question? Because it keeps coming back.
Well, then maybe you should give a good answer, because it seems like clearly you guys didn't think about this when you put in your budget.
And Fox and I were talking off air about, what's going on. And, she was saying like this is really worrying. And I'd said, well, the irony here is that the more people around Canada and corporations and organizations keep standing up and telling everybody that the sky is going to be falling, as scary as it is, it's actually better overall because it puts a lot of pressure on both the Liberals and especially the NDP. So the Liberals have taken their stance. They're saying, well, this is the hill we're going to die on. And when you look at the NDP, they have to decide, are we going to lay down on that same hill? Because that's the choice.
Well, and thanks to you guys, they must have received close to 100 letters each by now, because we keep getting emails day after day after day. So you guys are doing an awesome job reaching out to the NDP and telling them exactly how you feel about this capital gains tax.
Right. So just think, that's over 2,400 letters that have been sent to the NDP. That's a lot, guys.
Yeah, we put ours in the mailbox yesterday.
So, kudos to all of you, and keep them coming up until the budget. And you don't even have to just write one.
You can write as
one a
many
week.
as you like.
And to keep it easy on yourselves, if you've sent it via email, you already have their addresses now. You can just put all those addresses in one email and then send another one next week. And then it'll go to all of them. Send another one the week after and go to all of them, right? So you can keep it up until the point that this budget is voted on. So you can keep that pressure up. And I think the more that they get, the more worried they're going to get about this as well. Because this whole doctor issue, it's not the only one, because there's a lot of other organizations out there. But this is a huge, huge problem because, again, 30% of Canadians don't have doctors. So if these doctors just decide, you know what, to hell with you, I'm out of here, that's going to be a big, big problem for Canadians. So, Trudeau, what's your answer now?
Canadians understand, more than perhaps any other country, that the success of this country relies on everyone having a real and fair chance to succeed. And right now, people are seeing very, very clearly that the system is not fair anymore for young people.
Why is that, Trudeau?
Who's been in charge again?
Cypher, can you tell me why the system is not fair for millennials and Gen Z anymore?
Well, let's see. Trudeau has doubled the cost of everything. How about that?
Do you think it's all these useless social programs that he's been putting in place that are costing millions and billions of Canadian taxpayer dollars?
That's a huge, huge part of it. And he continues to spend tens of billions of dollars more. And we still don't see a balanced budget in sight. So you're still going to see this year after year after year. And, the $40 billion, just to clarify, the $40 billion deficit this year, that's if they get the revenues that they expect. But given what we're seeing, people are doing everything they can to try and figure out a way around this, or just say, screw it, I'm out. Where's that revenue going to come from then, Trudeau? Oh, wait, right. It's either going to come from more taxes that they're going to raise on us taxpayers, or they're going to have to print even more money and go billions more into debt than they already had planned.
When a generation before, our parents' generation or grandparents' generation, knew that if they had a good job, they could buy a home and build a future and build equity that would carry them towards retirement. Young people right now don't see the economy that way. Far too many of them have given up on the idea of ever being able to own a home. They feel they're going to be stuck as renters for the rest of their life. And no matter how hard they work, they're not going to be able to get the same kinds of opportunities that their parents and grandparents were able to do.
Again, like, whose fault do you think this is, Trudeau? You're essentially saying, so, yeah, I burned down your house, trust me to give you another one.
Oh, it's Stephen Harper's fault, of course. You know, the guy who was prime minister almost a decade ago. You know, that guy. Seriously, though, Trudeau does not seem to understand for housing, it's supply and demand. Most things in the free open market are supply and demand, but especially for housing. Right now, we do not have enough supply, and they've been steadily increasing demand over the last 9 years that the Liberals have been in office by bringing in almost 1 million Canadians in the last year. And I think we calculated it the other night, Safer, it was like 7 million Canadians since Trudeau took office. That's a lot of people in this country, and that does not include foreign residents like temporary foreign workers and students who also need housing but don't count towards our population. So we've increased the demand on housing by like, I don't know, what is that, like 20% in the past 10 years? And the supply is just not keeping up.
Well, and the funny thing is Trudeau says, they are going to be building 4 million homes by 2030, right? So that's around, you're going to love this, everybody, 666,666 homes per year.
Nice number.
Right? So let's just break that down. So that means that they have to build 76 homes every hour from now until 2030 in order to actually hit that number. Breaking that down, they have to complete, I'm not kidding, 1.3 homes every minute of every day of every month of every year.
There's not enough skilled tradespeople probably in all of North America to get that accomplished. Never mind Canada.
Again, just think about that. 1.3 homes. You have to complete a home every minute. It's not possible. But they say all of these capital gains taxes, and we're sorry that the system worked for some of you. But yeah, you just need to give us that money because we screwed everything up. And we need to, to take that and, trust us. We'll build these 4 million homes. I don't think so.
That's not just too bad for them. That is too bad for all of us. Right now, Gen Z and millennials represent the largest part of our workforce. And if they don't feel like their hard work is going to give them a good life, they are in danger of disconnecting, of sitting back, of not being the drivers of the economy of the future. That is what we are facing. And I tell you, you can talk to any successful, wealthy person across this country and ask them if they are worried that if they're living in a country where young people are successful, where young people can buy homes, where young people have good jobs and are optimistic about their future, that somehow wealthy people won't be able to thrive and succeed in an economy that is healthy and where everyone gets to succeed? That's not how it works. That's certainly not how it works in Canada. So yes, we are asking those for whom the system has worked very well, who have done well over these past years, to recognize that investing right now in the success of young people is not just a nice thing to do, it's essential to do for the future.
Okay, so stop using that word, Trudeau.
You know what word he should be using? Communism, because that's what this is. Oh, you know those people who are successful? We're asking them to sacrifice so that young people can be successful too. Because I've screwed up the economy so bad, the only way to quote unquote balance the scales is for us to take from the rich and give to the poor.
Well, and here's the thing. They are not asking. He keeps saying, well, you know, we're asking. And he also keeps saying that word, invest. That's not what this is. Why? Because if you take money and you invest it, you expect a return and get more money back. What you're doing is you're taxing people, stealing their money, and then you're using it for whatever the hell you want.
Right. And this is the problem. Trudeau is making it sound like this is a 1% versus 99%. It's not. The reason that they are taxing, quote unquote, the 1% is because he's screwed up the economy of this country so badly. The only way he can continue to fund his outlandish budgets is by taking from people who have, quote unquote, excess, which I don't even like it when he uses that word. But that's what he's doing here. It's not, baby boomers trying to keep things away from millennials and Gen Z. No, it's the fact that the government has screwed up our economy so badly that he has to take away from the baby boomers who, because they're older, have had longer time to save, therefore, in general, will have higher amounts of wealth than younger people who are just getting into the job market.
Capitalism isn't perfect. It's far from it. But the capitalist system has lifted more people out of poverty in the last 100 years than in the last 1,000.
Well, and look at Stephen Harper created a larger, wealthier middle class than any other prime minister in this country's history. And Justin Trudeau just came in and destroyed that.
And that was after he managed the country through the crash of 2008. Let's just not forget that. Right? So, this is not capitalism, what he's doing. This is communism, as Fox said before.
And you guys know us. We don't use words like this lightly, but this is exactly what he is doing.
And in regard specifically to doctors' pensions, I know there are a number of experts come forward to say there are simple tweaks they can make that can assure that they still have very good pensions when they retire. In terms of technology companies, we've actually created new opportunities and programs to gain even more with investments in startups and to do even better, because we do want to draw in more investment. We want more startups, and the investments we're making and the changes we're making around taxation is actually about incentivizing and rewarding those people who are investing in startups and creating more innovation and more opportunity.
Okay, so there's a couple of things that we need to address here. First off, let's address, the so-called people that aren't affected right now. It's just a 0.1% of Canadians that are affected by this. Really? Are you sure about that? Because everyone who's trying to sell a cottage certainly isn't sure about that. Here's an article from the Globe and Mail published a couple days ago. Headline, "It's chaos. Cottage owners rush to sell ahead of capital gains tax changes, realtors say." Cottage owners looking to sell are scrambling to close deals before proposed changes to the rules on capital gains take effect and potentially leave them on the hook for much higher tax bills, realtors say. The federal budget released last week proposes raising the inclusion rate on capital gains greater than $250,000 to 66.7% from 50%. That means if an individual sells a second property, such as a cottage, after the new rules kick in, as expected on June 25th, they would pay tax on a higher portion of the capital gains. As a result, the clock is ticking for those who wish to sell or transfer their vacation homes at the lower capital gains tax rate. Just over a week after the budget was announced, realtors say they were seeing a flood of clients looking to speed up the selling process. While it is nearly impossible for individuals to list a property and close the sale before the tax changes, those with cottages already on the market are pushing to move up closing dates, said Barb Williams, a realtor with Baumgartner Realty Group in Haliburton, Ontario. Quote, "It's chaos," end quote, Miss Williams said, adding that a number of clients have told her the changes have upended their financial plans. Quote, "All the people that decided to put their house for sale a month ago and made the decision at the time that this is the year they're going to sell based on those numbers their accountant gave them, now the rug is pulled out from underneath them." So where's this 1/10%?
Sounds like cottage owners are scrambling to offload their cottages before the tax rate increases.
So, what do you say to that, Trudeau? And, like, we don't mean to make light of the situation, but, you know, the fact is Trudeau was elected based on a curtain of lies and based on promises of weed for everybody. And this is what happens when you get a guy that it was forecasted. He was inexperienced. He was too young. He hadn't even really had a real job, much that he tries to criticize Pierre over. But this guy does not understand money. He doesn't understand the real world. And this is what we're seeing as a result.
Well, I just find it interesting that it seems like most people who own a second property are older, probably older than Cypher and I, perhaps in the 55 plus category, which is the highest support for Trudeau still. And this poll was taken after the capital gains tax was announced. So I wonder if maybe people weren't paying attention. Maybe they don't really understand what it means. I wonder if that number is going to stay at 30%.
Well, I think we can all hope that these people are going to wake up and realize maybe Trudeau isn't actually good for this country after all. Now, let's address the doctor issue. So Trudeau said, experts. Don't you just love it when they say experts because they don't actually specify who these people are?
Which experts? Who are they?
Right. Right. Remember that? So let's take a look. So this is a report from City News. Now, what this references is Jean-Pierre Laporte, CEO of Integris Pension Management Corp., argues physicians can fully shield their retirement savings from capital gains taxation. Really? Laporte says incorporated professionals like doctors can sell off investments and open a registered pension plan. What? You mean the CEO of a pension corporation is suggesting that doctors should open a pension?
That's not suspicious at all.
No.
Not at all.
Contributions to the plan would be tax deductible, which means the individual would not pay any tax on the capital gains they earn. No, but here's the thing. In order to get that money, right, because most corporations and the doctors, what they will do, they don't just have money sitting in the corporation because, again, government doesn't like that. The government will take a bite out of that. So what they will do is they will take that money and they will invest it. And that way, according to your expenses and according to the government, that money is doing something. It's not actively sitting there. Okay, so they've actually, purchased these investments. Well, in order to actually get that money back and to put it into a pension, what do the doctors actually have to do? They have to sell their investments. Now, what do you usually expect when you sell your investments?
Taxes.
Profit. You expect profit.
Oh, profit first and taxes second. There you go.
So if they've had money in there for 10 years, 20 years, then what they're going to be selling it for is going to be a bunch of profit. So they're going to pay the 50% capital gains on that now. Right. So they're going to lose half of the profit that they've even earned. And then this guy, this CEO, wants them to open a pension because he's expecting this flood of doctors across the country to be taking all of their money out of their corporations and opening pensions with pension companies. What does that do? It increases the value of the pension companies because they get fees based off of all of this, right? So these are the quote-unquote experts that are advising these doctors to take a 50% capital gains hit after they sell these investments, because they're in the corporation, and then they take that and then they open a registered pension plan as part of the corporation. Like, I don't want to hear any more about experts from Trudeau, because I think these doctors have looked into this and checked it out. Otherwise, the Canadian Medical Association wouldn't be screaming from the top of their lungs.
Alison Northcott with CBC. There's a video being shared online where you can see an OPP officer telling protesters, one wearing an F. Trudeau hat, which gate you entered at the Alliston event yesterday. Do you consider this a breach of duty, and is it being investigated?
As you well know, I won't comment on operational or security matters, but I am sure that the appropriate folks are looking into whatever reports these are. I think it's important to emphasize and understand that the right to protest is really important. In a democracy, your freedom to disagree with the government is something we perhaps take for granted here in Canada, but that they cannot take for granted in far too many places around the world. The ability to throw out insults at the person of the Prime Minister is something that is protected here in Canada and is really important for people to be able to express themselves.
Is it?
Something that's protected right now, but as soon as Bill C-63 gets in, that's debatable, isn't it?
Well, it was also not so protected when a bunch of white people showed up, started dancing, playing music, and having a barbecue to protest against the vaccine mandates. And again, you don't have to agree with the trucker mandate or with the trucker convoy or not, right? You don't have to agree with their disagreement with the mandates, but you have to agree that they had the right to protest.
100%. And that's what this is all about. You don't have to agree with the cause, or you don't have to disagree with the cause, but you have to agree with our fundamental rights, which includes the right to peaceful protest.
And you're seriously dealing with a prime minister with the cognitive dissonance to look at one group of protesters that were all white, that were peaceful, that said nothing related to talking about terrorists, nothing related to harming anybody, nothing like that. But the fact that they made the government look like a bunch of complete fools, you have people in trial being tried for this. Like, let's not kid ourselves. That's why they're in court. It's because they made the government look like fools.
Yeah, they bruised Trudeau's ego.
100%. But you have other people that are actively protesting across Canada and in the States, might I add, and chanting slogans that are advocating for genocide. Nothing happens. So now it's protected, but a couple of years ago it wasn't. And as Fox said, when C-63 comes out, free speech is just going to be a relic of the past.
That's really key. At the same time, however, politicians need to be very, very careful that they don't feed into divisions amongst Canadians, polarizations, or conspiracy theories.
I'm just going to leave this here.
There is a small fringe element in this country with racist, misogynistic attacks.
Yeah, I think that says all that needs to be said here. We've talked about this too many times to count, about Trudeau and division.
And I've been thinking about this in regards to Pierre Poilievre. Anyone who wants to be Prime Minister of this country needs to be clear with Canadians about whose votes he wants and who he stands with. If Pierre Poilievre wanted to be a responsible leader, I'll even give him the words. This is what he should say. I reject categorically the endorsement and the support of Diagolon and of Alex Jones. Because Diagolon is a violent white nationalist organization, and Alex Jones is a garbage conspiracy theorist. That's all Pierre Poilievre would have to say. But he won't say it. And that tells you about the kinds of choices he's making as a leader.
Easy there, Justin. You're going to have an aneurysm.
Yeah, he's gone like rabid talking about Pierre. And I think the reason why is because Pierre did not acknowledge the quote unquote endorsement by Alex Jones. And he's not defending the fact that he went out and spoke to people who were allegedly part of Diagolon. I mean, in Canada, every citizen has the right to vote. Doesn't matter what your views are, doesn't matter what your beliefs are, doesn't matter what color your skin is. None of that matters. Everybody has the right to vote. And all Pierre Poilievre did was go out and speak to citizens. Why is it bad to listen to your citizens? Why is it bad to open that dialogue? You don't have to agree with them. You don't have to support their beliefs. But a good leader listens to the citizens.
Yeah, and speaking about those words, where were those words, Trudeau? Where were they when a organization that's light years away from those two that you mentioned, where were those words when Hamas thanked Canada? They thanked you. Again, you can agree, you can disagree what's going on over in Gaza and Israel. Probably everybody agrees and disagrees on one thing or another. But the fact that you actually have Hamas coming out and thanking Canada, where was where was the disacknowledgement from the Prime Minister and the government for that? But, he doesn't want to talk about that. No. He just wants to talk about Alex Jones and Diagolon. And as for Alex Jones,
again, free speech.
Whatever you want, yeah.
He's allowed to say whatever he wants. That's the beauty of free speech, that you don't have to agree with everything people say, but you have to defend their right to say it.
Now, disclosure, there's a whole bunch of stuff that we disagree with Alex Jones on. Whole bunch of stuff. But he has the right to say it. And that's the terrible thing. That's the price you pay with free speech. You have to tolerate the intolerable if you want to protect free speech. You have to allow people to say the most revolting things if you want free speech. And the rule is the more terrible of the idea, the best disinfecting is giving them a microphone. Because they are going to ruin the credibility of their idea for you by talking about it and subjecting it to debate. So when it comes to Justin Trudeau, the good thing is that everyone has seen him for what he is. I'm not going to say starting. Everyone has seen him for what it is. It took us a long time to get here, folks. It took us 2 years to get here. But the really encouraging thing is this budget. And remember, they were doing this whole showcase beforehand. Here's all the good things that we're going to be bringing to you in the budget, trying to get people behind this before they drop the hammer of this method of which they're going to pay for it, because they didn't talk about that before they actually announced the budget. But here it is. They're going to be gutting the middle class. They're going to be gutting people from the top. They're going to be gutting corporations to the point where they're going to say, you know what?
Screw it.
We're done.
Out. Yep.
We're going to go down to tax-friendly place in the States.
And what are Canadians going to do without those jobs? That is the part that the Liberals are ignoring.
Right.
What are we going to do without doctors? And what are we going to do without jobs?
The great thing that we've seen in the comments is so many of you recognize that, yes, you have to tax corporations. 100% you do. But if you tax them too much, then these people, they'll say, you know what? All right, we're done. And they pull that out. And the implication is now the thousands or tens of thousands of jobs that were actually being given to Canadians, what are they going to do now? Nothing. Because every other corporation is going to be pulling out that doesn't want to stay here either. So Canadians have seen the light, folks. We just have to keep putting the pressure on the NDP to ensure that they see it too.